as David tries to square away the mysterious monk and try to figure out how to find Farouk's body. Something happens at Division 3 that sort of sidetracks him. And by sort of, I mean majorly. With David trying to solve this crisis, we get to learn a little bit about the possibility of what's causing these events and maybe try to figure out a way to stop them. Find that more here on F1 Entertainment. Hey, what is up, everybody? What is up? Welcome back to Nephilim Entertainment. I'm your host, Metatron Urel. Thank you for tuning in. What's up? But thanks for watching my show Legion. This is my coverage of it, and this is episode 3, chapter 11. So, we dive a little bit into Farouk's past, and we get to see basically a little bit about his burial procedure, where he was buried. I find it interesting that we don't really get the grasp of what's going on until it starts taking off and we're going to motion. At first you think he's sitting in the bar in his mind, in Oliver's mind, surrounding himself by women for company, but no, he passes out. I thought with the reflection in his glasses he was reliving the battle, sort of on the scale of what David saw. But no, it apparently is the battle which takes place. Long story short, shows him being transferred to the grave where he's buried. Apparently it was near a sanctuary where he was kept under safekeeping. Something happened with the monks, and eventually a plague of some sorts, a psychic plague, spread, and eventually caused most of the monks to to either kill themselves, wipe themselves out, or go insane, or all the above. So, congrats. Farouk messes with everybody's lives. So, with the infection coming apart and everything, the mysterious monk that knows the location of the body up and leaves. So that fast forwards us to the present day, where we get a little side note about Kerry and Cary and the possibility of them teaching Cary independence. Because apparently she doesn't even know how to poop. Right? Yeah, she doesn't know how to poop. I know it's weird. It was weird for us as an audience. I'm pretty sure it's weird for them. But she literally doesn't know anything about pooping. I mean, right? Yeah. It's that weird. You gotta leave it to Legion to be something that's a little off the charts, I guess you could say. But while this is going on, we do discover that the monk happens to free himself from his holding, which is basically him surrounded amongst the chatterers. So now he's loose on the compound, and everybody's frantically trying to find him. Meanwhile, David decides he's going to dive back into his little thought machine to try to figure out what's going on and what's taking place in the future, and possibly get some answers. But in the midst of the process, something happens, and he eventually wakes up in an empty building, more or less. Can't find a single soul to communicate with, except for a cow. I don't know what was up with the cow. It kept appearing. I don't know. It freaked me out a little bit. I mean, I love a beef burger, but was anybody hungry? Because who saw the cow? That's mine. Why a cow? I like sheep. Anyway. So he eventually comes across nobody just yet. He ends up having a nice little communication with Farouk. And in the process of this communication, while he's in this telepathy machine, he talks to Farouk and finds out what Farouk's goals are. Ask him point blank, why do you want your body back? What are you going to do when you get it back? That whole spiel. And Farouk, every time, Farouk explains that all he wants to do is return to his normal life, seeking the solitude, power, benefits of that power. That's all he wants. David's a little questionable about it, but when Farouk actually explains his side of the story, you kind of get sort of a grasp of maybe he's not so bad. I mean, if you look at the story from his point of view, basically he's in the country with their own set of rules, own set of sort of criteria. David's dad, who we all know who it is, comes in, doesn't know their culture, doesn't know how things are done. He decides what's good, he decides what's bad. Basically, in his judgment, punishes Farouk by basically taking his mind out of his body and burying his body. And Farouk inhabits people simply because he doesn't want to die. Okay. He had someone disrupt his culture, knock him out of his own body, making him a refuge, and now he has to go into other people's bodies in order to survive. You can't help but think maybe Farouk isn't so bad. I'm going to pose that question. He may be not so bad. I'm not saying he's a saint, and I'm not saying I want to be one of his refugee camps, but you gotta extend sort of a little bit of compassion for the guy. He's a refugee, a psychic refugee, and he's trying to just to find his body so he can go back to normal. I don't blame him there. So maybe Farouk's not so bad. Either way, we find out that the possibility that the monk is the cause of the catalyst. By the catalyst, I mean the nice little plate that jumps around and makes people chatter. Like, creepy. I knew it. I called it the first episode, I think. I called it. I was thinking that Farouk wasn't the cause of the catalyst, but instead it was somebody else. I didn't think the monk, but then again, it makes sense because the monk shows up in the States, and then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose, especially with Farouk rising to the surface and making his presence known. It all makes sense now, right? So the monk is the cause of the catalyst. So eventually David goes out and seeks the possibility of trying to cure everybody. Well, he comes across, first of all, Cary. Gets Cary, sort of back on his side of things, which is not a daunting task, but he gets Cary back, and then they find Wallace. Wallace, of course, is trapped in the maze, as David puts it, and it makes sense. So naturally, they dive in, they go, and they save Wallace from his nice little delusion, which, by the way, was tranquil, but I think it also is a nice little extension that he actually resents his powers more than what people think. He uses them as an asset, but I really think Wallace despises his powers in a way. I mean, if you remembered everything, that also includes the bad memories too. So I can understand why he maybe every once in a while would like to forget something. But then they go after Melanie. I don't know why they saved Melanie, because they're obviously doing things good on their own. I guess she might be someone who can maybe talk to, I don't know. I don't know if it was just one of those spur at the moments, if it was just because they came across her, or because at some point she was their leader. I don't know, but they ended up saving Melanie. But we do find out something interesting about her. Apparently with her getting up with Oliver, it was hinted that she was happy being free. With Oliver, she had responsibilities. Deep down, she really didn't want responsibilities. She just wanted to be free, carefree. Didn't want to have the stress of being responsible for anybody. I can see her point there. But either way, Melanie's saved, of course. But in the process, David is taken by the monk. So I'm thinking all at war, maybe a psychic battle, maybe another dance number. No, it's just a nice little cryptic sort of opinion doom kind of talk. He actually talks through their vermilion, which is a little freaky, but it's par for the course, I guess. Talks through the vermilion, why Fukuyama Fukuyama is sort of, I guess, trying to get his senses back. Honestly, I was hoping somebody would unmask him. I mean, you're hiding behind a thing. I mean, can we not see your face? Are you that hideous? Are you just that good looking? Or are you not what you may seem? I'm going to go on a stretch and say Fukuyama may not be a dude. He may be a chick. That's just my theory. But, in any case, with this, we find out from the monk that he's worried that the Shadow King will come back, rise to power, and use his powers as a weapon. David, he tries to leak, or the monk tries to leak that David is taking sides with the Shadow King, but David ends up teleporting them out of the way before he can spill the beans. And basically, they have a nice little one-on-one powwow where the monk questions David's stand. David pleads his case and tries to justify his actions. Basically, he's using Sid to justify them, but Farouk does bring up a good point with their little talk. Basically tells him, this girl's wanting to be saved, but when you do save her, you're inexplicably going to be erasing her past, or her future. So in a way, you're killing her, but she wants you to do that. It's a wrench, but it's a good wrench. He's posing a good question. Why would this girl want him to alter the timeline when in fact it could end up erasing her timeline? I mean, who's to say she'll survive if David ends up stopping Farouk? Or whatever impending doom it is. But either way, the monk, at some point, and this is what confuses me, the monk ends up jumping off the building. He commits suicide. Spoiler alert, sorry, I should have warned you. But anyway, he jumps off the building. With that, the catalyst doesn't stop. We find that out because Sid is actually found on the rooftop with her teeth chattering. So naturally, David's going to go after her, I guess. Alright, up next for Legion. Sid's mind, right? He's going into Sid's mind to rescue her. And her notion about this is, do you think ghosts like living in a haunted house? Okay, stay with me here. She has the power to switch bodies upon physical contact. I know he touched her shoulder where it was clothed, but I'm just wondering if he touches her in some way, could he in fact actually transfer their bodies, which in turn could cause her to get access to his powers, in which case she's actually turned around reading his mind. So in fact, they're not in Sid's mind, they're actually in David's mind. So that could explain why it's almost like a haunted house. That's one question I want to pose. Are they actually in Sid's mind, or could they possibly be in David's via Sid's powers? I would be interested to see David's mind after Farouk has left. Because I don't know about y'all, but anytime you ever see people who get rid of infections or anything from their body, it leaves scars and it leaves an impression even after you get it all clean and all healthy. So it's interesting to see if David's mind is actually recovered after having Farouk in there for so long. Which, if you really think about it, David's almost, I would say, probably late 20s, early 30s. There is a possibility that Farouk's been in there that whole time, so how much damage can the guy do just in that time frame? But, yeah, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I actually have a friend who I communicate Legion with. Me and this friend talk on a weekly basis about the characters, about the scenes, about what's going on, posing our own theories, bouncing back and forth. So, for all case and purposes, I'm gonna call this friend Mr. R, just to protect identities. But Mr. R came up with a theory. I came up with a theory. I'm gonna share those with you, and I want y'all to vote on which theory you think is sound. Now, Mr. R's theory, he thinks that David actually is still under Farouk's control. After he was released from the orb, it in fact is not future Sid he sees or anything like that. It's actually Farouk that's got him sort of like in a psychic maze. It's possible David has been under Farouk's control before while Farouk was in him. But if he has some means to cause people's madness via some psychic plague, Because if the catalyst is in fact his, could he not in fact infect David, and then David turn around and seeing a future which Farouk wants him to see, which is what leads him to want to find Farouk's body. So in other words, he's giving David misinformation to help him find his body. That's what Mr. R is proposing. That's his thoughts. My thought is that everything we're seeing is real. The monk, the catalyst, everything is real. And in fact, future Sid's real. But when she talked about the future and what was possibly plaguing and killing off mankind, what if it was David himself? Because if you noticed, whenever David asked her, "Am I dead?" she was very hesitant and sort of withdrawn about the question. I mean, if you think about it, if the man that she loves is standing right in front of her, but he turns into something that's entirely different, in a way, to her, that version of David's dead, and all that's remained is this, the evil part. So, my theory is that everything's real, everything is how it should be, but David somehow turns evil and ends up basically wiping out mankind, sparing just a few, and Sid is communicating with the past David to prevent this David from spawning. That's my theory. So, let me know up here whose idea you like. But that's going to be a wrap for me. Be sure to leave me a thumbs up down below. Post a comment being friendly. Let's discuss this episode. Be sure to stay tuned to the end of the video. And subscribe for more content. But I am Metatron URL. You're watching F Entertainment. To all you daydreamers and creators out there, keep your heads in the clouds. Peace.